Here's what you can do in Photoshop. We start at the beginning, where you know little to no Photoshop, or maybe you're decent but not great. In this part, we learn to speak the same language. Smart objects, clipping masks, organizing a project, learning the best tools and workflows. This is phase 1, and it takes quite a few sections. Next, we'll create our first website. We'll take everything that we've learned in the first part and we'll put it to good use. But here's the thing, you won't simply copy my steps. I'll explain step by step what we do. The principles are essential. That's the real value of that section. The next phase is all about freelancing. I'll explain everything from A to Z. How you can use Photoshop to create a reliable source of income and build a career. I'll cover everything from getting the best projects to quitting your job to increasing your productivity. Because I have a few businesses of my own, I'll also show you what it's like to be a client. This will help you out a lot because at the end of the day, freelancing is about making the client happy. It's not about being a world-class designer. It's about giving the client what he wants. And I'll teach you how to do just that. Now, let's pause for a second. We have these 3 phases, right? But here's where it gets interesting. You can become a freelancer and earn a few $1,000s per month. Now that's option 1. You take all this knowledge from these steps and you apply them and you'll start making some money. You'll see that's hard work. The mental game is the most difficult part, being able to constantly get bad reviews and still keep going. I'll teach you all about that, but maybe you don't want to freelance for a long period of time. That's not a problem. There's option 2, and that's working remotely for a company, either part-time, full-time, or project-based. Offers like this are gonna come along if you follow my advice. Now, next, there's also the classic option of getting a full-time job at a design agency. If you freelance for 3, 6, 12 months by working based on my suggestions, you'll have a solid portfolio. So even if you don't manage to win all that many projects, you'll still have that valuable portfolio and all the techniques I taught you in the first phases. And that means you can get a good job without too many issues. It won't pay as much, but it will be stable and reliable. There's option 4, where you can always move from crowdsourcing, where you might not get paid, to classic freelancing. You can work on Upwork, freelancer.com, Fiverr, and so on. Now, you may not understand all the differences, but I'll explain everything later on. And then there's option number 5. You freelance for 3, 6, 12 months, and then you make some decent cash. With that money, you can start the business. And that's exactly what I did. The thing is, if you lose all your money in that new business, that's totally fine, because you know in your heart that you can always make more money by designing websites in Photoshop. That's the real value of this course. It gives you confidence in your abilities. And finally, option number 6. With all this knowledge from this course, you can transition to another field like app designing or working in a marketing agency or doing graphic design in general. But let's take a step back. I'm Chris Barron, certified Adobe instructor, successful freelancer, and business owner. I learned Photoshop all on my own. I started designing websites in Photoshop and I made over $50,000 from it. And that's it, no coding, just Photoshop alone, $50,000. Now, I put money aside and I moved out of my parents' house. I won more projects and I got a car. I won even more projects and I started a business. When the business wasn't doing so well, I turned back to freelancing. And knowing that I could earn a living and pay the bills through Photoshop, that just gave me a huge confidence boost. And I hope that this course will do the same for you. So again, we have 3 phases up until now, right? A short recap. Number 1, you learn Photoshop. Number 2, you design your first website. Number 3, you learn all about freelancing. Now, part 4 is something you won't find anywhere else. This is the best part of the course. I'll show you how I made over $4,000 through designing websites in Photoshop. How I talk to the client, how to outsmart the competition, even though most of the time you'll be dealing with better designers. Everything is explained. It's like you're standing right next to me and I explain everything step by step. How I interpret the brief, how I manage to deal with bad feedback, how I get more work done versus other designers. I've created this course based on what I would have loved to know when I first got started. Photoshop changed my life in an incredible way, and I hope you'll have an awesome experience too. No matter your choice, this is the right course for you. But please remember, it's gonna be hard work and the course is quite long. Please make sure you manage to get to part number 4, which is the most important one. Let's get started.